So how do we handle visitors and contractors who may be in the building at the time of a lockdown? Well, for starters, if you're not doing it already, every visitor, every contractor must be vetted and must be credentialed while they're in your building. Because if they're not, it's going to create a huge challenge for law enforcement, as we spoke about before. So they should go through that process. And we're going to talk about some of the technology later on. The other part of it is that they need to understand, have some general idea of what the expectation is of them if there were to be an emergency in their building. So when they do visit your building, you should communicate to them as far as if there is a lockdown in the building. And I think Brian mentioned it early on about using code words. Well, if you're in a building, and there's still retail establishments that utilize it. Toys R Us utilizes Code Adam, where if they call it Code Adam, that's the sign that there's a child that may be missing or abducted. And one of the times I was in the store, was asking a staff member about the Code Adam, and they said, well, we don't want to alarm the customers about this potential missing or abducted child. And I said, by all means, alarm us about it. Why would you go and use a code? Put something over that's less ambiguous that we can understand. You certainly don't want to use code words in your schools, but you also want to impart upon these visitors and contractors, look, these are a couple things you need to keep in mind. The big one is lockdown, is that if we call a lockdown in your building, this is what our expectation is of you. And there's a number of ways you can do that. You can explain it to them. Even something as this there, when they sign into the building, have them read a little blurb on there and just sign, when they sign in, just say, do me a favor, just so you understand what the protocol is. If a lockdown were to be called, follow directions, secure in a lockable space. Most schools do not allow movement throughout the building without some type of escort. But if you do allow movement throughout the building without an escort, they definitely need to know how to implement these protocols. Contractors are typically on their own in your buildings as well. So you may have a team of people doing electrical work or plumbing work in the building. If a lockdown's called, they probably don't know what to do, especially if they're down in your boiler room. They may not understand. So keep that in mind.